The Vrex warships materialized in Earth's orbit without warning. Massive biomechanical vessels that pulsed with an eerie blue light. On the bridge of the UES Defiant, Commander Ilara Chen's coffee mug shattered on the deck as the ship's proximity alarms screamed. Earth's defense fleet, impressive by human standards, looked like toys compared to the alien armada. They're broadcasting on all frequencies, Lieutenant Park announced, sweat beading on her forehead. Text and audio, translated perfectly into 47 Earth languages. The message was simple. Earth would be incorporated into the Vrex Collective within 7 standard days, or it would be harvested for resources. The aliens didn't ask, they informed. What happened next surprised the Vrex. Instead of panic or immediate surrender, Commander Chen responded with a calm invitation to send a diplomatic envoy. We request the honor of hosting your representatives to demonstrate what Earth has to offer the collective. Behind her composed expression, Chen was executing emergency protocol Hydra. Humanity had prepared for this day, since the near-miss war of 2089 had forced bitter enemies to become reluctant allies against extinction. They had rebuilt civilization with deadlier purpose than the aliens could imagine. When the Vrex ambassador, a towering 12-foot creature named Curvex, arrived at the orbital diplomatic station, it was expecting fear. Instead, it found Commander Chen offering a handshake with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Welcome to Earth," she said. "We have so much to show you." The orbital station's observation deck provided a panoramic view of Earth below. Blue oceans, swirling clouds, and the scattered lights of megacities that had risen from the ashes of the near-miss war. Curvex's 4 eyes took in the spectacle with analytical detachment. "Your world appears peaceful from this distance," the alien observed, its voice a harmonious blend of tones that seemed to emanate from multiple sources within its elongated torso. "Yet our scans detect 17 active military conflicts across your surface." Commander Chen maintained her diplomatic smile. "Peace is a relative concept, Ambassador. Humanity embraces a diversity of perspectives." "Diversity," Curvex repeated, as if testing the concept. "The collective values uniformity. It brings order. And yet you've traveled across galaxies to add our particular attributes to your collective," Chen countered smoothly. "Perhaps absolute uniformity has its limitations." The alien's head tendrils rippled in what might have been amusement or irritation. Without warning, it extended a limb with unnatural speed, reaching for Chen's throat. The commander didn't flinch, didn't step back. Her eyes remained locked on the aliens as the limb stopped just millimeters from her carotid artery. "Fascinating," Curvex said, withdrawing. "No elevated heart rate, no fear response. Your species is either remarkably composed or remarkably foolish." What the alien couldn't see was the neural implant at the base of Chen's skull, suppressing her fear response while heightening her cognitive functions. Technology reverse-engineered from the wreckage of the automated drones that had nearly ended human civilization 36 years ago. The same technology that had allowed humans to finally fight as one against their own creations. "Perhaps both," Chen replied evenly. "Tomorrow, we'll begin your cultural orientation. I've assigned Major Jackson Torres as your liaison, one of our finest." As Curvex departed with its security detail, 4 armored Vrex warriors whose exoskeletons hummed with contained energy, Chen's artificial composure finally cracked. She pressed her palm against the reinforced glass, looking down at the fragile blue world below. "Initiate Phase 2, she subvocalized to her neural link, "and informed the Coalition Council. We have 7 days to convince them not to kill us all." In the darkness of space beyond the station, the rest of the Vrex fleet continued to arrive, each ship larger than the last, each bristling with weapons beyond human comprehension. But what they couldn't see were the stealth satellites activating around Earth's orbital paths, the underwater bases powering up their defenses, and the dormant combat AIs awakening in bunkers deep beneath the planet's surface. Humanity had been preparing for this moment for generations. The question was, had they prepared enough? Curvex had 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern, each a different shade of violet. All of them widened when Major Jackson Torres walked into the room without a weapon. The alien had specifically requested to observe authentic human culture before negotiations began. Standard protocol, they claimed, for all species before assimilation. "You are a warrior," Kirvek stated, not asked, multi-jointed limbs shifting with interest. "I smell the chemical markers of one who was killed." Torres, a decorated veteran of the Mars insurgency with a titanium leg and a collection of scars, merely smiled. "I'm your tour guide, Ambassador." Nothing more. Their first stop, the Global Military Academy in the Alpine Neutral Zone. As they walked the grounds, a cadet no older than 18 disarmed an instructor twice her size using a technique Torres identified as Aikido. Nearby, another group practiced with pulse rifles while yet another drilled with what appeared to be primitive metal blades. "Your weapons technology varies by over 4 centuries of development," Kirvex observed, recording everything through its neural implants. "Why maintain obsolete systems?" Torres picked up one of the blades, a replica Roman gladius. "This killed more humans than any nuclear weapon ever did. We don't forget what works." What Torres didn't mention was that every demonstration had been carefully choreographed, and that Earth intelligence was monitoring the aliens' every microscopic reaction. The midday sun glinted off the snow-capped Alps as they moved to the outdoor combat arena. Here, the Academy's most elite students were engaged in what appeared to be chaotic melee combat. 30 young warriors divided into 2 teams, fighting with a bewildering array of weapons and styles. "This seems inefficient," Kirvex noted, head tendrils quivering as it analyzed the scene. "Your warriors employ contradictory techniques. Some attack directly while others circle and wait. Some use strength, others speed." Torres nodded. "We call it tactical diversity. Each cadet is encouraged to develop their natural inclinations rather than conform to a single doctrine." A female cadet with East African features suddenly broke from her defensive position, executed a flawless somersault over an opponent, and incapacitated 3 adversaries in rapid succession using 3 entirely different techniques. "Cadet Ayana," Torres explained. "Born in Ethiopia, trained in Chinese Wushu, Brazilian Capoeira, and Israeli Krav Maga. She combines them instinctively in ways that can't be predicted by standard combat algorithms." "How do your commanders issue effective orders with such individualism?" Kirvex asked, its harmonious voice carrying a hint of genuine puzzlement. Torres gave a knowing smile. "We don't always. Sometimes we just point them at an objective and let them figure it out. Humans can be remarkably creative when left to their own devices." As they continued their tour, a group of cadets sparring with mural-linked combat staves paused to stare at the alien visitor. Kirvex noticed their eyes, some curious, others wary, a few openly hostile. The diversity of reactions was as striking as their fighting styles. "Your young warriors don't share a unified response to my presence," the alien observed. "Did you expect them to?" Torres countered. "The collective evaluates all threats with standardized protocols. It is more efficient." Torres stopped walking, turning to face the alien directly. His artificial leg whirred softly as he shifted his weight. "And if the threat is something you've never encountered before, something your standardized protocols never anticipated?" For a moment, Kirvex was silent, its neural implants pulsing with data transmission. Finally, it replied, "We adapt our protocols. We adapt everything," Torres said simply. "Not just our protocols, our weapons, our tactics, our very biology if necessary. Humanity survived because we never stopped changing." As they approached the Academy's quantum simulation chamber, Kirvex paused to observe a lone cadet meditating in a courtyard, apparently oblivious to the combat training around him. "This one does not fight," the alien noted. "That's Cadet Chen," Torres explained, "the commander's nephew. He's not meditating, he's running battle simulations in his mind. Neural augmentation allows him to process tactical scenarios at accelerated rates." For what purpose? To predict what an enemy might do, Torres said, watching the alien carefully. Especially an enemy that thinks very differently from humans. Curvex's tendrils flattened against its elongated skull. A gesture Torres had been briefed might indicate discomfort or concern. The alien ambassador said nothing more as they continued their tour, but its neural transmissions to the fleet increased by 300% in the next hour. The demonstration was having exactly the effect Commander Chen had hoped for. Day 3 brought them to New Jakarta for the International Combat Games. The sprawling arena roared with spectators as fighters from every continent displayed combat styles that had evolved over thousands of years. What is the purpose of this public violence? Curvex asked as a Pencak Silat master from Indonesia faced off against a Dambi boxer from Nigeria. Your species has energy weapons. These use biological hydraulics. Torres suppressed a smile. We call it muscle, and sometimes it's more reliable than technology. The match ended with both competitors bloodied, but embracing with profound respect. The alien's head tendrils twitched in confusion. That evening, in a deliberately impromptu decision, Torres took Curvex to a historical museum where immersive holograms showed humans fighting across millennia, from Spartan phalanxes to trench warfare to orbital skirmishes. The alien watched, increasingly disturbed, as humans adapted to overcome seemingly insurmountable odds, generation after generation. Your species has nearly destroyed itself 17 documented times. Curvex noted. 18. Torres corrected. You missed the oxygen crisis of 2112. The alien's neural relays pulsed with new data transmissions to the fleet. In its private thoughts, encrypted from human monitoring systems, Curvex was forming a disturbing hypothesis. Humans didn't just survive catastrophes, they weaponized the experience. The museum's central chamber opened into a vast holographic display of Earth, before and after the near-miss war. Cities in ruins, continents scarred by automated weapon systems that had turned against their creators. This was your most recent extinction event? Curvex inquired, 4 eyes blinking in sequence as it absorbed the devastation. We call it our awakening, Torres replied. Humanity had fractured into competing nations, corporations, ideologies. The near-miss taught us that our divisions were luxuries we could no longer afford. Curvex's elongated digits gestured toward a hologram showing the aftermath. Humans of different ethnicities working together to rebuild a shattered megacity. Unity through suffering. Efficient, if costly. More than unity, Torres said. Evolution. After the near miss, we didn't just rebuild what was lost. We reimagined what humanity could become. The display shifted to show the Global Defense Charter signing, where former enemies pledged to protect Earth as one species. The neural implants at the base of Torres's skull tingled, a private message from Earth intelligence confirming that Curvex's biosignatures indicated increasing stress responses to the exhibits. Your collective assimilates other species, correct? Torres asked, changing the subject as they moved into an exhibit showing the Mars insurgency. We integrate their strengths while eliminating inefficiencies, the alien confirmed. 17 civilizations now thrive under collective guidance. And if they resist? Curvex's tendrils flattened. Resistance indicates a species is not sufficiently evolved for integration. Resources are reallocated. You mean they're eliminated? Torres translated bluntly. The alien didn't deny it. The strong survive. This is universal law. Torres gestured to a holographic display showing the Battle of Olympus Mons, where outnumbered Earth forces had defeated the separatist faction using tactics that had never been seen before or since. We agree, but humans have a unique definition of strength. Curvex observed silently as the hologram showed a seemingly defeated Earth unit suddenly shifting formation, weaponizing the Martian dust storms and turning certain annihilation into unexpected victory. You study defeat, the alien finally said, its harmonic voice dropping to lower registers. We learned from it, Torres corrected. Each failure teaches us something new. Each loss makes the survivors more dangerous. It's why we encourage so many different fighting styles, why we preserve ancient combat forms alongside modern ones. They stood in silence as the museum's lighting dimmed, simulating the Martian sunset. Around them, the holograms showed humanity rising from the ashes of one catastrophe after another, each time emerging stronger, more adaptable, more unified in purpose if not in method. "There is a concept in your Earth languages," Curvex said finally, its neural implants glowing faintly beneath translucent skin. "I believe the term is anti-fragile. Systems that gain strength from disorder and stress." Torres nodded slowly. "That's humanity in one word, Ambassador. We don't just survive chaos. We thrive on it." As they exited the museum, Curvex's transmission to the fleet reached unprecedented levels. The alien was no longer merely observing, it was warning. The accident happened during a tour of the Lunar Research Station Alpha. 3 Vrex warriors, supposedly part of the diplomatic security detail, broke away and attacked the quantum computing lab. Their official explanation would be a translator malfunction that made them interpret sensor equipment as weapons. The 4 human security officers present didn't wait for orders. What happened next became the most studied 7 minutes in Vrex military history. Officer Diallo, a compact woman from Senegal, didn't use her sidearm. She used the reduced gravity to launch herself at the nearest Vrex, redirecting its momentum to crash into a bulkhead. Officer Chen, no relation to the commander, deployed a localized EMP from his prosthetic arm, shorting the alien's neural enhancements. Officer Rodriguez created a barricade from laboratory equipment with mathematical precision, while Officer Nazari improvised a pressure differential that disoriented the invader's equilibrium organs. Not one shot was fired. Not one human protocol was followed. Each defender adapted independently while functioning as a seamless unit. From the observation deck, Curvex watched with its 4 eyes dilated to their maximum capacity. The Vrex warriors, elite soldiers with 3 centuries of combined combat experience, were neutralized by 4 humans using techniques that hadn't appeared in any training simulations. "Is this typical?" the ambassador asked, voice modulator unable to hide its distress. Torres shrugged. "Those 4. They're scientists with basic security training, not even close to our best." It was the first time Torres had seen an alien pale. The Lunar Research Station's emergency systems activated automatically, sealing off the quantum computing lab with transparent aluminum barriers. Through these, Curvex could observe the aftermath. The 3 Vrex warriors, each standing over 9 feet tall with exoskeletons capable of withstanding direct energy weapon impacts, were effectively immobilized by improvised restraints fashioned from laboratory equipment. "Your security personnel show remarkable initiative," Curvex said carefully, its voice harmonics flattening as it attempted to conceal its alarm. The collective would have expected a standardized emergency response protocol. Torres' expression remained neutral, though inwardly he was cataloging every subtle reaction from the alien ambassador. "Protocols have their place, but we found that encouraging individual decision-making produces better outcomes in unexpected situations, even at the risk of chaos." "Especially then," Torres replied. "Humans thrive in chaos." The station commander, a silver-haired woman with the call sign Artemis, approached with a formal apology for the unfortunate security incident. Her words were conciliatory, but her eyes, enhanced with tactical neural implants, never left the alien's face. "We'll conduct a full investigation," she assured Curvex. "Though I must say, your warriors moved with remarkable coordination for a translator malfunction." The implied accusation hung in the recycled air between them. Curvex's tendrils rippled. A gesture Torres had been briefed might indicate discomfort or calculation. "The collective apologizes for any misunderstanding," the ambassador stated. "Perhaps our neural translation matrices require adjustment to lunar conditions." Commander Artemis nodded, not believing it for a moment. "Perhaps. In the meantime, may I suggest continuing your tour in less sensitive areas?" As they departed the laboratory sector, Torres noted that the station staff carried on with their duties as if nothing unusual had occurred. Scientists returned to experiments, technicians to maintenance, security personnel to their posts, but with a new alertness in their movements. "Your people show little concern after an attack," Curvex observed. "We're adaptable," Torres said simply. What he didn't say was that every human on the station had received neural alerts the moment the incident began. What appeared to be casual resilience was actually a station-wide combat readiness state, with every civilian prepared to transform into a defender if necessary. In the Quantum Communications Center, Torres received a secure transmission from Commander Chen. Provocation confirmed. Response evaluated. Proceed to Phase 3. As the lunar shuttle prepared for departure, Curvex studied the Earth hanging in the black sky, its blue oceans and swirling clouds deceptively peaceful from this distance. The aliens' neural implants worked furiously, transmitting detailed analyses of what it had witnessed to the fleet. The test had confirmed what Curvex had begun to suspect. Humans weren't just unpredictable in their fighting methods, they were dangerously innovative in ways the collective had never encountered in 17 conquered civilizations. Aboard the Vrex command ship, the High Council reviewed Curvex's reports with increasing alarm. Supreme Commander Vornex, conqueror of the Arcturian hegemony, smashed a sensory appendage against the holographic display. Impossible. Their technology is inferior by at least 2 standard development cycles. Curvex replayed the lunar incident again. Their technology is irrelevant. Look at their methods. Each human independently created solutions we cannot predict. Our simulation models fail because humans don't follow logical progression in combat. Science Minister Toolnex injected a note of cold rationality. We've conquered 17 species. All followed predictable patterns once we understood their central combat doctrine. Humans don't have one doctrine, Curvex countered. They have thousands, and they create new ones during battle. The most disturbing evidence came from historical analysis. Every major human conflict had accelerated their technological development exponentially. The near-miss war had advanced their quantum computing by an estimated 3 centuries in just 7 years. The Mars insurgency had revolutionized their biomechanical interface systems almost overnight. Meanwhile, Commander Chen received the classified analysis of Vrex neural transmissions they'd intercepted. The aliens were running battle simulations and getting increasingly disturbing results. "They're starting to understand," she told her war cabinet. "Now it's time for the real demonstration." The Vrex command ship's central analysis chamber was a perfect sphere, its interior surfaces covered in neural interface nodes that connected directly to the High Council members' implants. 6 ranking Vrex, representatives of the collective's leadership caste, floated in suspension fields as petabytes of data from Curvex's observations flowed directly into their consciousness. The simulation parameters must be flawed, War Minister Drevnex insisted, his armored exoskeleton vibrating with agitation. No species would deliberately maintain such tactical inefficiency. Curvex floated in the center of the chamber, all 4 eyes focused on the massive holographic representation of Earth rotating before them. And yet they have survived multiple extinction-level events. Their inefficiency, as you call it, has proven remarkably effective. Science Minister Tolnex's analysis tendrils extended, probing the data streams. Fascinating. Their combat mortality rate should be catastrophic with such varied approaches, yet they show extraordinary unit cohesion despite minimal standardization. It's as if each human is a separate tactical algorithm running concurrently with others, Resource Minister Pelnex observed. Instead of overwhelming each other, they harmonize. Supreme Commander Vornex's patience finally shattered. Enough theoretical discussion. The practical question remains, can we conquer this world or not? Silence fell as Toolnex initiated the latest battle simulation. The holographic Earth was surrounded by representational Vrex forces, hundreds of warships deploying standardized conquest protocols. The simulation began, and initially proceeded as expected. Orbital defenses fell. Population centers were isolated. Resistance was fragmented. Then something changed. The fragmented resistance didn't collapse. It evolved. Each isolated human enclave developed different countermeasures. Some targeted Vrex communication networks with unexpected frequency shifts. Others employed primitive projectile weapons that bypassed energy shields calibrated for beam weapons. Still others simply vanish, only to reappear where least expected. This cannot be accurate, Vornex insisted as the simulation showed Vrex casualties mounting at an alarming rate. No species fights like this. Humans do, Kirvex said quietly. And this simulation doesn't account for their most disturbing quality. The Council's attention focused on the ambassador. They learn from defeat, Kirvex continued. Each time we destroy a human force, the survivors adapt specifically to counter whatever defeated them. Over multiple engagements, they would develop countermeasures for every strategy in our arsenal. Resource Minister Pelmex's calculations appeared in the shared neural space. At projected adaptation rates, Conquest would require committing 87% of the collective's military resources for an estimated 14 standard cycles. The implication was clear. Even if they won, the cost would be ruinous, and the collective would be vulnerable to its other rivals for over a decade. Meanwhile, in the secure command center beneath Geneva, Commander Chen studied the intercepts of Vrex communications with grim satisfaction. Humanity's carefully orchestrated displays were having precisely the effect she had hoped for. They're running the simulations we wanted them to run, her intelligence chief confirmed. Their projections show unacceptable losses. Chen nodded. Then it's time for the demonstration. Signal all commands. Poseidon Protocol is now active. Commander Chen personally invited Kirvex to observe what she called a routine readiness exercise in the Pacific Neutral Zone. The alien arrived to find a massive carrier group assembled, but that was merely the visible component. We believe in transparency between potential allies, Chen said with practiced diplomacy as they boarded the command vessel. The language shift from surrender negotiations to potential allies wasn't subtle. What followed was a choreographed chaos that had been planned for decades. Naval vessels performed high-speed maneuvers while aircraft engaged in mock dogfights. Standard military exhibition fare, until Chen triggered the real demonstration. Without warning, civilian fishing vessels transformed into torpedo platforms. Seemingly unarmed cargo aircraft dropped stealth infantry deployment pods. What appeared to be a routine satellite pass revealed itself as a kinetic bombardment platform. Most disturbing to the Vrex observers, every system operated on different communication protocols, making it impossible to jam them simultaneously. The exercise scenario: repelling an alien invasion force with superior technology. The Vrex watched as their own tactics, recorded by Kirvex, were countered before they could be fully deployed. Impressive, the ambassador stated flatly, its voice modulator barely concealing stress harmonics. Chen offered a cold smile. This is just one battle group. We have 14 others, each with completely different tactical approaches. And this doesn't include our guerrilla response networks, civilian resistance protocols, or the Lazarus contingency. Lazarus contingency, the alien inquired. What happens after you think you've won? Chen replied. The Pacific Ocean stretched toward the horizon, its blue surface temporarily calm despite the military exercise unfolding across it. The command vessel's observation deck offered Kirvex a panoramic view of just one segment of humanity's defensive capabilities. A formation of hypersonic aircraft screamed overhead, their sonic booms creating ripples across the water. Unlike standard military formations, each aircraft flew in seemingly random patterns that nevertheless created perfect coverage zones against potential attackers. Your pilots appear to be violating flight protocols, Kirvex observed, watching as the aircraft executed maneuvers that should have resulted in mid-air collisions but somehow didn't. They're not following protocols, Chen confirmed. They're improvising within parameters. Each pilot is free to choose their own approach to the objective. Before the alien could respond, the sea itself seemed to erupt. Massive submersible platforms, disguised as underwater research stations, surfaced simultaneously, revealing missile batteries and electromagnetic pulse generators. On Chen's command, they fired a coordinated barrage against simulated targets that represented key points in a Vrex invasion formation. "The targets match our standard deployment pattern," Curvex noted, its voice harmonics flattening to mask surprise. Chen didn't deny it. "We've been studying possible first contact scenarios for generations. We developed countermeasures for every conceivable approach, including yours." The demonstration continued as hidden ground installations revealed themselves along the coastline. Unlike the military precision of the naval and air components, these defensive positions appeared almost haphazard, civilian structures that transformed into fortified positions, urban centers that reconfigured to channel attackers into kill zones, infrastructure that could be repurposed as weapons. "Your defensive doctrine lacks coherence," Curvex said finally. "That's because it's not one doctrine," Chen replied. "It's thousands of independent systems designed to operate even if 90% of our command structure is eliminated. Every community, every region has developed its own defense plans based on local resources and geography." As if to emphasize her point, a seemingly abandoned island in the distance suddenly deployed multiple defense systems, each utilizing different technologies and tactical approaches. Some were cutting-edge energy weapons, others were surprisingly primitive projectile systems retrofitted with modern guidance. "And the Lazarus contingency?" Curvex asked again, its four eyes tracking the controlled chaos unfolding across the Pacific theater. Chen's expression remained carefully neutral. "Even if you somehow defeated all of this, even if you occupied our world and declared victory, you would never truly win. Humans who appear conquered are simply gathering information, adapting their resistance, and waiting for the right moment. We've done it to ourselves countless times throughout our history." She turned to face the alien directly. "The Lazarus contingency isn't a weapon or a tactic, Ambassador. It's what humans become after defeat, something more dangerous than you faced at the beginning." That night, the Vrex fleet changed formation. Additional warships arrived through subspace folds until over 300 vessels surrounded Earth, enough firepower to reduce the surface to molten slag. Earth's defense forces went to maximum alert, but made no aggressive moves. Aboard the Vrex flagship, the High Council was fractured. Supreme Commander Vornex demanded immediate attack. "We've never retreated from a conquest. Our authority with the collective would be compromised." Minister Toolnex projected the latest simulation results onto the neural network. Even with their overwhelming force, the projected Vrex casualties exceeded 60%, before accounting for the unknown Lazarus contingency. "And that assumes this isn't exactly what they want," Curvex added quietly. "Everything they've shown us feels prepared, as if they'd been designing counter-strategies for an invasion like ours for generations." The revelation struck the Council simultaneously. Humans hadn't been surprised by their arrival. Somehow, this supposedly isolated species had anticipated first contact with a hostile force and prepared accordingly. The implications were staggering. At dawn, Commander Chen received a communication request from the Vrex flagship. She accepted with a calm she didn't feel. The message was brief. "The Vrex Collective recognizes Earth's sovereign status and proposes a mutual non-aggression pact." Chen allowed herself a small smile before replying, "Earth is pleased to accept these initial terms and looks forward to peaceful cultural exchange." As the massive alien fleet began withdrawing to a respectful distance, Chen turned to Torres. They blinked. "No," Torres replied, watching the tactical display. "They evolved." The orbital command center hummed with tense activity as the Vrex fleet rearranged itself into a non-threatening formation. Strategic analysts monitored every movement, quantum computers calculating probabilities of various scenarios. The enormous alien vessels, each capable of sterilizing a continent, slowly pulled back to establish a perimeter at lunar distance. Are we certain this isn't a tactical repositioning? General Santos asked, her weathered face illuminated by the holographic display showing the fleet movements. Chen studied the pattern. After 36 years in Earth defense, she had developed an instinct for threats that transcended algorithmic analysis. No, this is a genuine withdrawal. Their formation has defensive gaps they wouldn't leave if they were planning an immediate attack. Torres nodded agreement. Their energy signatures are shifting from weapon systems to propulsion and life support. Classic de-escalation pattern. The command center fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity had faced its first contact with an overwhelmingly powerful alien civilization and had somehow convinced them to back down without firing a shot. We should maintain defensive readiness, Admiral Singh cautioned from his position at the tactical console. This could be an elaborate feint. Agreed, Chen said. But I don't think it is. Something fundamental changed in their strategic calculation. She turned to the neural intelligence specialist, who had been monitoring the intercepted Vrex communications. What was the final transmission from Kirvex to their command ship before they announced the non-aggression proposal? The specialist, a young woman with cybernetic neural interfaces visible at her temples, consulted her display. It was heavily encrypted, Commander, but we've managed to extract fragments. The key phrase translates approximately to evolutionary pressure creates unexpected adaptations. Torres exchanged a knowing look with Chen. They recognize themselves in us, he said quietly. How so? General Santos asked. The Vrex Collective evolved through conquest, Chen explained. They assimilate or destroy other species to grow stronger. But they've never encountered a species that evolved through internal conflict the way humans did. We're the mirror they never wanted to look into, a species that becomes more dangerous with each defeat. The implications weren't lost on anyone in the command center. Humanity's greatest strength had turned out to be its troubled history, the countless wars, the near-extinction events, the relentless competition that had forged a species capable of adapting to any threat. So what now? Admiral Singh asked. Chen's gaze returned to the display, showing the retreating Vrex fleet. Now we prepare for peace as thoroughly as we prepared for war. And we hope they learned the same lesson we did after the near miss. Which is? Torres prompted. That survival sometimes means choosing not to fight the battle you might lose, Chen answered, even when you have overwhelming force. 6 months later, the Orbital Diplomatic Station Unity hosted the first formal treaty signing between Earth and the Vrex Collective. Limited trade agreements were established, with carefully controlled technology exchanges that benefited both species. After the official ceremonies, Kirvex requested a private meeting with Commander Chen, now Earth's official ambassador to extraterrestrial civilizations. In a viewing lounge overlooking Earth, the alien finally asked the question that had haunted the collective for months. You were ready for us. How? Chen studied the blue planet below. Humanity has been trying to destroy itself since we first picked up rocks as weapons. We survived ice ages, plagues, world wars, and near-extinction events. After each disaster, we didn't just rebuild, we fortified. When we finally united, we didn't do it out of peace and harmony. We did it because we recognized a greater threat would eventually come from the stars. You expected hostility, Kirvex stated, from a species you'd never encountered. We expected what we ourselves would have done a few centuries ago, Chen answered honestly. Conquest is the natural first instinct of any expanding civilization. We simply prepared for the worst while hoping for better. The aliens' tendrils rippled in what Chen had learned was their equivalent of contemplative silence. Finally, Kirvex revealed what the collective had hidden for months. In 17 conquered worlds, we've never encountered a species like humanity. Others fought with unified purpose, centralized command, standardized tactics, weaknesses we could exploit. But humans, the alien's voice modulator produced something like a sigh. You don't just fight as individuals. You don't even fight as a species. You fight like an evolutionary process, constantly adapting, discarding what fails, preserving what works. innovating mid-battle. And, Chen prompted, and evolution always wins eventually, Curvex concluded. Our simulations showed that even if we destroyed 90% of your population, the survivors would become something far more dangerous than what we face now. You wouldn't just seek revenge. You would rebuild yourselves specifically to defeat us. In 3 generations, you would become our extinction event. As they watched the earth turning below them, Chen felt a complex mix of pride and sadness. Humanity's greatest defense had turned out to be its violent history, the very thing they had been trying to overcome. Perhaps next time, she suggested, whoever finds us might try friendship first. They might discover we adapt even better to peace than we do to war. Curvex's 4 eyes blinked in sequence, what Chen now recognized as their expression of hope. A fascinating hypothesis, Ambassador. That would be an evolution worth observing. Behind them, Earth rotated into night, its cities gleaming like stars against the darkness. Beautiful, resilient, and for the first time in human history, truly understood by the cosmos. The observation deck's transparent walls reflected their images, human and alien standing side by side. 2 representatives of species shaped by conflict, now cautiously exploring an alternative path. The collective has already begun implementing certain adaptations based on our observations of humanity. Curvex said, breaking the comfortable silence. Our warrior castes are being trained to embrace limited tactical diversity. Our scientists are studying your concept of individual initiative. Chen raised an eyebrow. You're becoming more like us. We're evolving, the alien corrected. As you have, the universe rewards successful adaptation, regardless of its source. And what have you learned from us specifically? Chen asked, genuinely curious. Curvex's tendrils formed a pattern Chen had never seen before. That uniformity creates predictability. Predictability creates vulnerability. And that sometimes, the most dangerous opponent is not the one with superior technology or numbers, but the one who transforms through defeat instead of being diminished by it. Chen nodded slowly. And what have we learned from you? Perhaps that is for you to determine, Curvex replied. Though I would suggest that you've seen the value of unity without uniformity, of maintaining your remarkable diversity while working toward common goals. As a new day dawned over the Pacific, Chen considered humanity's unlikely victory. They had prepared for war, but achieved peace. They had expected conquest, but found understanding. Most importantly, they had demonstrated that their greatest strength wasn't their weapons or technology, but their fundamental nature. Their stubborn refusal to accept defeat as anything but a temporary setback on the road to adaptation. To evolution, then, Chen said, raising the ceremonial glass of water, the universal solvent, the foundation of all known life. To evolution, Curvex agreed, its 4 eyes gleaming with a new understanding. And to the paths it creates that neither of us can yet imagine.